talking about how, I think Dave was saying, yeah, you're gonna have to put up more feeders because you've got lots of company. So I'm gonna turn off half of these lights so you can see the screen better. And also to let you know that we are live streaming this. So the camera is just pointed in this area, which is why I'm standing over here. Yeah, right here. If you ask a question, your voice will be recorded and broadcast. If you don't want that to happen, just come let me know your question, and I'd be happy to ask it. And please help yourself to some snacks while I hit the lights.
Thank you, Kathy. The library here is wonderful. It's a really wonderful venue for these Ask UAS presentations. I've been doing them once or twice a year for years now, and they always do a really nice job putting things together and advertising everything. So, as far as like knowing what's going on in the natural world around here, one of my goals in life is to know all of the plants and animals and birds and everything that lives anywhere from the ocean to the alpine. And I'm not actually going to be able to manage that, but I want to. I'm going to try. Okay? And so tonight I'm going to focus on hummingbirds. I've done presentations about birds here. This is actually my second presentation this school year because I did one, and then I was talking to Kathy and Lana here in the library about hummingbirds. They were asking me all different kinds of questions because I have hummingbirds for the delivery time. And more and more questions, and I was answering them. And I think it was Lana that said, well, maybe you should do another Ask UAS this year on hummingbirds, and we could do it in the spring right before they should be showing up. And I said, you mean when the rufous hummingbirds should be showing up? Because the Annis hummingbirds are already here. So we agreed I should do this. So I am going to focus on this story of hummingbirds here in Ketchikan. And for a long time, people were like, yep, rufous hummingbirds are the only hummingbirds we have here in Alaska, here in Ketchikan. But more recently, the Annis hummingbirds are also staying over winter. They're year-round now. So if you're a hummingbird enthusiast, we have hummingbirds all year round, which is pretty awesome. I want to just, if you have questions, go ahead and just like raise your hand or ask throughout. Don't wait till the end, okay? Is this on? Why is this not working? No. That's the pointer.
Barbara, can you speak up a little bit? People online can't hear.
Oh, people, okay. Well, I can't advance the slides anyway. Can you advance the slides for me?
Sorry, it's not selected. There you go. You should be able to now.
We have people online. That's awesome. Welcome, people online. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and go to the...
You should be able to go forward now.
No, I can? There we go. Okay, we have an overview. Almost all the pictures in this presentation are ones that I have taken over the years. One of the things I like to do is to take pictures of all the different living things I see around here. A lot of birds. This one is a rufous female that's stretching. She's been kind of sunbathing in the sun out at Ward Lake, and I've got a picture of her stretching, getting ready to fly away and go look for more nectar. So I'm going to talk a little bit about hummingbirds in general, the two different species of hummingbirds we have in Ketchikan, and then have some time for questions at the very end. So, there we go. Hummingbird 101. This is a female Annis hummingbird. And as we go through, I'm going to talk more about both those species and how you can tell them apart and how you can tell males from females. So what are hummingbirds? They're in Kingdom Animalia, phylum Chordata, which are things with spinal cords. Class Aves, which are all of the birds. Order Caprimulgiformes, which are the nightjar swifts and hummingbirds. And then family Trochilidae, which are the hummingbirds. They are more closely related to swifts than anything else around here, which is a little bit of a surprise to some people. Hummingbirds are only found in the Americas, North America and South America. They're not found anywhere else in the world, so they're just ours. They're the world's teeniest birds, especially the bee hummingbirds are the world's teeniest birds, and they are sugar-fueled fighter jets. They do eat other things, but they love sugar and do well on it. This is kind of a lot in this graphic, but it's a cool graphic too because it shows hummingbird evolution. They split from the swift family, group of birds about 42 million years ago, and then the hummingbird diversification really took off about 22 million years ago. So they've been around for a long time. They developed mostly in South America, and as the Andes mountains developed and got pushed up, that actually gave them a whole lot of different kinds of habitats to be living in, and that habitat diversification drove the diversification of the hummingbirds in South America. Then the Panamanian land bridge, which happened about 12 to 15 million years ago, allowed them to go from South America up into the Caribbean and North America, where different groups of them continued to develop. So that's kind of interesting. These are all the different kinds over here, and we are going to focus, we are going to focus on, now I've done it. We're going to focus on the bees. The two kinds we have here are both considered bee hummingbirds because they're the smallest when they're really teeny. And I think I might have my buttons all figured out. All the rest, there's a lot of different kinds of hummingbirds in the world, in the North America and South America. About 350 species of hummingbirds worldwide. This is kind of a cool graphic here. It's an artistic rendering of lots of different species of hummingbirds. The largest are the giant hummingbirds, aptly named, up to about 20 centimeters, which I'm guessing is like something like this long. The smallest are the bee hummingbirds, which we have around here, different species of bee hummingbirds. About 6 centimeters long, something like this. The long-tailed hummingbird has the longest tail on one is called the long-tailed sylph, which is 12 centimeters long. The short-billed hummingbird has the longest sword-billed. Sword-billed has the longest bill of any of them. And the showiest are the coquette species, which are the ones that have these head puffy kind of interesting things going on, which are pretty showy, what they got going on. Yes?
So did you take this picture too?
Oh yeah, no, I drew it. No. I wish.
It was a good day.
There's about 20 species of hummingbirds in the United States. 2 species here in Ketchikan, rufous hummingbird and Anna's hummingbird, and there are vagrants, which are like, you can see them every once in a while, but they don't really hang out here very long. Well, not here, but documented elsewhere in Alaska, the Costas, the calliope, and the ruby-throated. So,
How far up do the hummingbirds go?
yeah. They are up in, actually one of the Alaska Hummingbird Project is run by a person in Cordova, and he also goes over into like the Seward Peninsula area and does banding of hummingbirds in the Seward Peninsula. Actually, maybe it's run out of, maybe not Cordova, maybe it's Seward Peninsula. South Central Alaska, though, has hummingbirds. And there's a guy there whose name I'm totally blanking on, but he runs the Alaska Hummingbird Project. They're on Facebook, and he monitors them, does banding projects to like track them, what's going on with them in South Central Alaska. So, strangely enough, the Annas don't spend all winter there, it doesn't seem, but they spend quite a lot of it and will leave when it's like real cold there. So, they're braver than me. Okay. Hummingbird diet, nectar from flowers is their very favorite. And this is a male rufous feeding on cherry blossom nectar. So sugar is the big part of their diet. It's not all of their diet, though. They like nectar. They will find flower. A lot of flowers have a lot of UV reactive pigments, and then you can see them in UV light. And the hummingbirds can take advantage of that. They also will, and I've actually seen a hummingbird doing this, drinking tree sap. So sapsuckers, red-headed sapsuckers, will drill holes in trees and then come back after the sap is running in them and they'll lick up that sap. The hummingbirds that I've seen Rufus doing this will go along and sip the nectar out of those holes and take it advantage of all of the hard work that the sapsuckers are doing. So that's clever. They'll take advantage of fruit juice if they can get some of that. They will also eat various different kinds of arthropods. They'll eat flies, mosquitoes, gnats, and spiders. A pretty good percentage of their diet can be made up of arthropods, actually. So if you have hummingbirds and then you've gone for a while, your feeder freezes or your feeder is looking really nasty and nobody's coming to it, your hummingbirds are not doomed because they can go and frequently they eat protein source. The bugs are protein source for them, and so they eat bugs quite a bit, actually. In fact, the guy that is running the Alaska Hummingbird Project, I listened to one of his talks, and he said that up to 80% of a hummingbird's diet can be bugs. They can even, like the annas, if the annas are overwintering in a place, they can pry frozen bugs out from underneath flakes of bark. So I've questioned that. I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and finish the thought. My sister lives on Marble Island, and she brought her hummingbird feeders in thinking that there weren't going to be hummingbirds, but then she saw an annas that was in the area and she hadn't had hummingbird feeders out for like a couple of weeks when she saw that annas, and so she filled it, put it out, and it came to the feeder. But that 2-week period of time when she didn't have a feeder, she was surprised that it was still probably around there, but it was most likely just living off of bugs during that period of time. Okay, then hummingbird nesting. They will conceal their nests really well. They're camouflaged. This is a female rufous hummingbird in a nest. A few years ago now, 4 or 5 something years ago, a female rufous nested just outside of one of the windows where I live, and it was like right kind of out. I could see it really well. I could take pictures of it, but if I hadn't seen her fly up and land in it, I would not have known it was there. So even like kind of out in the open, it was still really well camouflaged. They usually nest near water and food sources, which was the case with this. Her name is Rosie, by the way. They use mosses, lichens, plant fibers, and spider silk to make their nests. And the spider silk is important because it kind of holds it all together, but it's kind of stretchy. And so after they lay the eggs and they're sitting on them and the eggs hatch and they develop, the nest can kind of stretch around the chicks as they grow, which is kind of handy. The eggs are about the size of a jelly bean, and they usually lay 2 of them, and then they'll hatch. Incubation is about 15 days. And then hatching to fledging is about 22 days. And they stay in the nest until they're pretty big, I was surprised to see. So that's kind of interesting. Nests generally last only 1 season. They'll use it 1 season. They might come back again to the same area, but the nest is good. It sort of falls apart over the course of the winter. So reusing one, it's probably easier to start fresh again. She did not. She came back the next year, but she did not nest in the same nest. I didn't see where she nested the next year.
Did you see the babies?
I did see the babies. Wait for it. Males will mate with multiple females, and then are mostly useless with the nesting and rearing, except for territory defense. They actually focus all of their time and energy on defending their area and any of the females that they have in there that are nesting in that area. So they are aggressive, and they will defend against anything. I saw one actually chasing a squirrel away, getting it away, and the squirrel was like blood. It was like going all the way up the tree and out branches, all the way. And the I wish I had a camera or something, but probably wouldn't have got a picture anyway, but it stand off several times while the squirrel's on the branch and the hummingbird's like right in its face, just like, and the squirrel would run away. The squirrel was like, I don't know, 100 times more massive than the, but it ran it all the way up the tree and all the way back down the tree, and the squirrel finally left. Didn't want to leave, but the male rufous hummingbird won that battle. So territory defense is pretty, they take that seriously. So this is the same set of chicks in the nest. This is not long after I could, the very first thing I could see is just the very tip of their beaks sticking up. And I wasn't sure if they were wet. My binoculars were looking because are those sticks or those wet? And they're kind of moving around a little bit. And here you can see both of them with their heads, the beaks and heads. Their beaks start out orange, kind of yellowy kind of, and then their heads here. And their beaks are actually quite short when they start growing too. Then as they get bigger, and now this was the day before they fledged. And you can see both of them in here, one facing each direction. The nest did stretch by this point, and they really weren't fitting anymore. They kind of kept fussing around with each other and like trying to, anyway. So there they are the day before they fledged. I was hoping to be able to see them actually leave, but they waited. I was not watching before they left, but they were awfully cute little guys right here. So yeah. So the rufous are on their way right now. Whoops, where are we going? It's I killed it again. I don't know how I'll.
Try it again.
No. Uh-oh.
There we go.
Okay. So some of the flight mechanics and how they can fly. Well, actually, I'm going to come back to this for just a second. I want to talk. No. Sorry. Okay. I had so much about the rufous hummingbird there. I was jumping ahead in my mind. Hummingbirds are actually amazing flyers, and they can do they average 50 wing beats per second, so it's super fast. And rather than just having a flapping motion of like going up and down, they have this figure 8 kind of motion that they do, where their upstroke kind of goes back, and then the downstroke kind of comes down like this. And so it's a big figure 8 motion, which allows them to hover. It allows them to fly backwards and even upside down. They can fly up to 60 miles per hour. The Annas, when they go into a dive, can pull 9 G-forces when they stop at the bottom of their dive there, which is pretty amazing. They have the body structure of a bird with the aerodynamic tricks of an insect. The upstroke supports about 25% of their weight, and the downstroke supports about 75% of their weight. Insects have 50-50 on their upstroke and downstroke. Other birds, it's 100% support on their downstroke and none on the upstroke. You can even kind of see birds kind of falling in the air and then rebounding up. So the fact that hummingbirds have, 25% of their weight supported even when they're putting their wings up is pretty strange and cool. So they do this by a couple of different ways. They have the ability to do this. The first thing is that they have these two pectoral muscles basically. There's a large pectoral muscle here and then a smaller one that wraps up around the top part of their shoulder. And so they have double muscles basically on either side, which helps them out a lot. The other thing is that all of their bones are really shortened, and so they are much more dynamic then, and they can flex much more easily. Instead of having all of their arm bones kind of being long and then their hand bones being small, they have also got all of them, these are all hand bones right here. You can see all of these are like hand bones. This is their forearm, or ulnus and radius, and then their humerus here. So arm bones are shortened, hand bones are elongated, all about equal length, and that gives them a lot of maneuverability with their wings. And then paired with the maneuverability of their wing bones and these really strong double muscles, they're really super good flyers, which is really fun to watch. Their insertion of the two muscles on this keel, which runs kind of out from their sternum, the keel sticks out further for their body size than most other birds have. So cool flying abilities. Hummingbird metabolism. Hummingbirds have to eat a lot, which means they have to eat pretty constantly. And so, especially in the wintertime when they were like really hitting my feeder hard, it was like zipping back and forth and zap back and forth and back and forth, especially first thing in the morning and last thing at night. Really getting a lot of food. Constantly burning energy, constantly have to consume it. They consume, on average, about half of their body weight a day. So if humans had to eat half, how much would you have to eat if you ate half your body weight a day? Something like 300 hamburgers or so a day, which is like how big incredible amount of food they have to eat in order to. So to live, they have a large heart relative to their body mass, and they can have up to 1,200 heartbeats per minute and 250 breaths per minute, which is really, and you see them even just sitting there and kind of relaxing and watch them, binoculars to like really watch them in the trees next to my house on the porch there. And even when they are like sleeping, taking a nap, they're twitching their head kind of back and forth and their body's kind of shivering. They're like never still. They're always, it's like, that's what a sugar rush looks like. They're just, and then at night, they survive the night, and actually some scientists are saying they kind of barely survive the night because they're burning calories all night long. But they do that by going into a torpor, which is kind of like a hibernation light. It's not really hibernation, but it's kind of close. Heart rate slows, respiration rate slows. They let their body temperature fall. And they just kind of, they're like really super asleep, kind of, right, in torpor. And then in the morning, they'll start like shiver to kind of wake up. If you have Annas and you have a feeder, you might actually see them hanging. People have pictures. I've seen pictures of people gotten of Anna's hummingbirds hanging upside down from their feeder. Just and they think, oh no, it's dead. But they're not. They're in torpor. They've just kind of, I don't know, hanging upside down. But they'll start shivering and warm up enough, and then they have to just start feeding right away to be able to get the calories that they need. This is a picture here that I got. I was trying to get a picture of a male Anna's hummingbird. I was trying to get the brilliant colors of its head feathers. I was ready to take the picture, and then as I took the picture, it turned away, so you can see its head is blurred. It's kind of got two heads almost. And I caught it just as it did an enormous, like, it's pooping. I got it when it was pooping. Like, wow. I would not have been able to do that if I had tried. But by chance, I got it so that the poop was actually pretty much in focus in the hummingbird. And since I got this, I've noticed that actually as they're feeding, a lot of the time, they'll get done drinking and drinking, and then as they fly away, they'll get rid of waste and
Seen that with other birds.
Yeah, which is kind of interesting. I mean, weight in, weight out, keep things moving.
You gotta jettison the load.
Gotta jettison the load. Yeah. So that's one of my favorite pictures. So now hummingbirds of Ketchikan. Starting out with the rufous hummingbirds, Thalassophorus rufus. They are the bee hummingbird group. They are migratory. These are the hummingbirds we've had around here. We only have one species of hummingbird. This is what people are thinking about when they say we only have one species of hummingbird. It's the one that has been coming up here for like ever, right? But they're migratory. They're not the only hummingbirds of Ketchikan anymore. They've lost that status. But they come up here, migrate up here incredible distances. I'm going to get into that more in a minute. We've talked about already how aggressive they are. The males in particular really are aggressive and defend their territory. They average about 3.4 grams, which is about 1.5 pennies in weight. So their feathers occupy quite a lot of space, basically. The male, which you can see on the left-hand side over here, I got this one you could really see the iridescence orange-red of its gorget. It has kind of a greenish forehead, a white spot behind each eye, which you can't really see very well in this picture, a white breast. It's kind of the rusty red flakes, back and tail. And you can actually hear them and hear the difference in their wing vibration sound because it's kind of higher pitched and much more like, much louder and more metallic sounding than that of the Annas. So once I've learned that, I'm like, I can tell by sound even when they've come back to the feeders in the spring, which should be happening any time now. Female rufous here, mostly green on the back. This one was holding really still, and I was pretty close to it, so I was able to get kind of the shades of green on the back, white throat and breast, but then the real rufous rusty color on their flanks, which is really distinctive. And if you're trying to figure out, do I have an Anna's, do I have a female rufous, you want to be looking for that streak on either side, the flanks of the rusty red kind of color. She also has can have a few scattered kind of reflective, like reddish feathers on her gorget, but mostly not. In the fall, the juveniles look just the same, and so you'll see, oh, this is a female / immature, because the male doesn't develop the full glory of his red gorget until he's ready to mate, 6th year. Rufous migration. So this is showing the western United States, pretty much here, their migration. They migrate one way, 3,500 miles. It's the longest migration in North America. They winter throughout central and western Mexico, down in this area, the blue area. They have a clockwise migration. They come up the coast, and then they'll breed up here, nest and breed up here, and then they'll migrate down through here. So they depart Mexico in February, migrate north along the west coast, arrive in the breeding grounds by late May, sometimes earlier, sometimes a little later. The males will start south as early as late June. It's like they've done their job, the babies are off the nest, or nearly so, and he heads off out of here, right? The females are about a month later. Females and juveniles will head down a little bit later. The southbound migration through the Intermountain West happens mostly in the high elevation meadows, and timing of that is based on the abundance of flower and timing of the flower blooming, right? So they are occupying a big geographic space throughout their lifespan.
Do they migrate in groups, or is it
Migrate in groups. You don't see flocks of them. No. Somehow I think when I use the pointer, it kills the advance button, which I've done again. I'll try not to use the pointer.
Try it now.
No.
Did the battery die?
Okay, now it's working. So this is what that, on the left-hand side there, leaving Mexico, wintering range in January, coming up the coast in breeding grounds in May, and then back south in the fall. This is the annual cycle of the rufous hummingbird as far as molting, breeding, and migration, where January is up here. So January, they are molting, in February, March, April, May, they are migrating, and then also breeding, and then June through September, they're migrating back south again. October, November, and early December, they get to just chill out and they're not doing anything. So that's their pattern. In Ketchikan, the rufous hummingbirds can arrive as early-ish March, but not every year, and I mean, not very many. Most arrive could be happening anytime now, but more likely like early April or on, and then on into early May. Males start singing and displaying in early May. Females build nests in May and June, and young are fledged by early August. Males are gone by the end of June, and females and young are gone by late August. And they have the northernmost breeding range of any hummingbird in the world. So, yay, rufous hummingbirds. This is the weekly bar chart, and I took this off of eBird. a week ago. Same day I was going to do my presentation last week, but anyway, it's still accurate. The line here was 1 week ago, and so you can see that in early, mid-March-ish, there have been reports of rufous hummingbirds here, but not really very many. And so the width of the bar shows you kind of how, like, number of reports. And you can see that like early April and then mid-April, kind of to late April, we start getting a lot more reports of the rufous. Through May, fewer in June, and then tapering off. They should mostly be gone in August sometime, but sometimes in September, October, there can be somebody just hanging out because they're not ready to head south yet. So eBird is a really great place to go to check out like what's coming. I've been on there a few times checking out like how close are the reported rufous hummingbird sightings. And a week ago, the closest ones were in British Columbia, so they're getting closer. It's a great resource to be able to track what's going on in a few different ways. Rufous hummingbird food. This one's eating nectar from some kind of a geranium, I think. They like flower nectar, fireweed, western columbine, paintbrush, salmonberry, vaccinium species, different kinds of currants. There is a big importance is to like post-fire and post-disturbance habitat can change things for them. Sometimes things grow that help them. There's an importance of understory and shrub vegetation. Sometimes that opens things up for more things to grow. The effects of herbicides and pesticides is like probably not great for them. So might want to limit your use of those. They, like I said before, take advantage of tree sap from sapsucker holes as a food source, and they do eat insects, like I was saying, aphids, gnats, mosquitoes, kind of smaller ones that they can fit in their beak. But yeah, this picture too, you can really see the reddish side feathers right there really well. So conservation status. This is actually kind of one of the more difficult part of the story is that they are in decline right now. They suffered habitat degradation. The IUCN, which is the International Union. No, what is it? Help me, Ben.
International Union for Conservation Notices or something. I forget what
Something
the
like that.
stands for. Yeah, I'll Google it. Continue. I'll get it.
Thank you. They're near threatened. They've had a 60% population decline since 1974. People are raising the alarm about rufous hummingbirds. The North American Bird Conservation Initiative watch list, they were added to that in 2016. So a big part of the issue with them is that since they overwinter in Mexico and migrate north through coastal North America, West Coast, and then they breed in like Southeast Alaska, British Columbia, Washington, and then migrate back down through a different area. That's a big area that all has to be in good condition for them to have the habitat they need. And the major fire seasons that we've been having lately in that whole area puts a lot of smoke in the air during the period of time when they're trying to like migrate back south, and that's hard on them. So
It's the International Union for Conservation of Nature.
thank you. Yeah, so it's the International Union for Conservation of Nature, and they are listed as near threatened there. So threats are climate change, changes in fire regimes, so more fires is more of a threat. Agriculture and forestry practices, so if we turn more forest and forest like flowers into agriculture, that's a habitat loss for them, and as is urbanization. We do need more research about them, but as they do more research, they just kind of, they need our help, which is, yeah. This shows right here a few different species, the calliope, broad-tailed rufous, and Allen's. hummingbirds and the percent change. And you can see here the purple box shows the percent change of the rufous right here, which is quite a lot. Not as much of a change, though, as the Allens, which is suffering even more. So, on the flip side of the Anna's hummingbirds, they've not been here for as long by any means, but they are doing just fine. And we'll get to that in just a second. But this is the male and female Anna's hummingbird. The males they're both kind of mostly grayish, a little bit of green, kind of, right? The males also they super stand out. Not only do they have a gorget of the really bright pink iridescent feathers, but also over the top of their head. They have like a whole helmet thing going on of iridescent pink, purplish kind of feathers. And then they can kind of flare the tips of them out kind of a little bit, and then they're like really showy. They're super showy on their head. The rest of them are kind of drab gray, greenish sort of color.
A rufous male rufus does not have that on their head.
It's kind of greenish. It's just their throat, the gorget. Yeah. Females light crown, back and flanks, light belly with smudges, thin dark lines on the throat with a few reddish spots, and then white above the eye, which you can see here, kind of above and then back from her eye here. And the male has a dark line from the eye back as well. So they are both in the bee hummingbird group. They've had a dramatic range extension, and they are a climate change and Anthropocene winner. In other animals have been like, oh no, climate change and like habitat degradation. People have been helping them out. And they're like, okay, yeah, plant more flowers that we like, hang out feeders that we like, and they've been following that, having a big range extension because of activities that humans have been undertaking. It is now the northernmost year-round hummingbird species, named after Anna de Belbacina, the Duchess of Rivoli. And named by René Lesson. I think it should be French. They do this elaborate dive display where the males will fly way up in the sky and then zoom way down this kind of J shaped. And you can see the female sitting right here watching him do this whole elaborate performance to impress her. They are larger by the rufous by about 4 grams. And you can actually see that too. Rufous come in, it's like, wow, they're quite a bit smaller. They look smaller than the Annas do. So this is the range extension. See, this is one of the Annas I got when it was sleeping, and even when it was sleeping, it was sitting there just kind of twitching with its eyes closed. It's like, anyway, powder sugar, can't sit still. Again, from Mexico up the coast to southeast Alaska here, and they historically were only found in Southern California and actually even kind of higher altitude Southern California. And then they've been expanding their range since then. So they got up to Oregon in first reported in Oregon in 1944, found in Seattle in 1964, first documented in Alaska in 1971, and first reported in Ketchikan in December of 1974, which I was actually kind of surprised to learn that they've been here for quite a while, although rare for quite a while, and then they've been doing better and better since then. They have an incredible ability to survive the cold because they use torpor really well. Torpor make in the winter. Nights in the wintertime are long. They do not feed after dark, and so they have to eat plenty during the day in order to survive that really long winter that I hate too. Winter night. But they drop their body temperature from 104 degrees to 48 degrees. They drop the respirations from 245 breaths per minute to 6 breaths per minute. And they just kind of hang out in a deep sleep. And then they wake up in the next morning and buzz around and start eating immediately. And if I have let my feeder accidentally freeze, whenever they're there to tell me about it. Oh, sorry.
So they don't feed at night.
They don't. They can't see the feeder at night.
So then, a lot of times, our feeder will freeze and bring it in the morning, but
Yeah.
they don't use it at night, bring it in at night.
Bring it
And
at
it
night,
wouldn't freeze.
have it nice and thawed, slightly warm a little bit, and then when you're hanging it up, they'll come and buzz. I've had them come and buzz me while I'm hanging it up. And they start feeding right there, like, yay, come right at it. So, yeah. Up to 80% of their diet can be insects, even frozen ones I was describing before, and that is from the guy, and I wish I could remember his name, I should have written it down, but that runs the Alaska Hummingbird Project out of South Central Alaska, anyway. They can gain 16% of their body weight in a single day, and then burn it off all night, staying warm, and then do it again the next day. And that kind of daily fluctuation in their weight is kind of a really remarkable thing. Their metabolism is just crazy. And this is a male Anis. I was super happy for two reasons. A, I could see him with all the snow around, just kind of highlighting how he doesn't care about the snow. And then also, all of his gorget and head feathers were all illuminated, so I could see them all real well. So that was cool. They don't do what we kind of think, north in the spring, south in the fall kind of migration, but they do, and they're here all year round, except that they do kind of do some variety of migration depending on what they want to do. They are an altitudinal migrant, so they don't stay down at sea level as much. They'll go up higher in the alpine. In Southern California, where they're actually from, they were, like I said, kind of higher altitude there, and so they'll that seems natural to them there apparently. Some populations move up and down the mountains as temperature changes. Some populations move northward along the west coast, or like south a little bit, kind of do a little bit of migration. Some may make a traditional migration southerly in the winter and then back again in the spring. So kind of, they have 3 different styles that they do depending on whatever they want to do, kind of, which is interesting. First seen in 1974 here. They were kind of sporadic fall and winter visitors for the next 25 years or so. Now they are abundant through the winter, and they are seen with more regularity throughout the whole year as well. I will tell you that from my experience with my feeders is that when the rufous come in, the rufous will dominate the feeder, and the Anna's kind of like, all right, whatever, they kind of go. I still see them a little bit, but not nearly as much. There's been unconfirmed but potential nesting happening in the Ketchikan area. It's been confirmed in British Columbia, but not here yet. But I've been watching and hoping that could happen. They're almost always associated with feeders, and during this last year's Christmas bird count, the CBC bird count, in 2024, we've actually documented 33 of them. And that does not count all of them, of course, but kind of best we can do in the area. So 33 is pretty amazing. And from eBird, their weekly bar chart here is solid blue the whole year. Sometimes more, sometimes less, but you can see solid bar all year long. So some information, Cornell Lab of Ornithology, Birds of the World, eBird, All About Birds, Audubon Society, American Ornithological Society, International Union of Conservation.
The International Union for the Conservation of Nature.
Of Nature. I want to say naturalists. Concerned naturalists. Thank you. North American Bird Conservation Initiative and the Alaska Department of Fish and Game. So what can we do for hummingbirds? Because especially the rufous hummingbirds that are kind of struggling a little bit, what can we do? And you can feed them. You can put up a feeder. You need to tend it. You need to keep it clean. Don't let mold grow in it. Why wouldn't you want to let mold grow in it? If a hummingbird feeds on a feeder that has mold, that mold can start growing on its tongue and it can't fully retract its tongue, and so then it can't feed well, and so suffocate and whatnot. So clean your feeders, make nectar out of water and sugar only. It does not need to be red to attract hummingbirds, and that red dye is probably not good for them. It's not good for people. No red dye, okay? Keep cats inside. They are the single biggest threat to small birds. Of any human activity, cats are hard on birds. So inside cats is appropriate. Garden organically. Don't use pesticides or herbicides in your gardening practices. Put flowers out in your gardens. I'm like, I I know why I'm planting flowers. It's good for hummingbirds. It's a good excuse to plant flowers. And take whatever action to limit climate change. We need to be fighting climate change. Climate change is definitely happening. Birds are really suffering. People are suffering. Climate change is something we need to be taking care of. So, wild Alaska plants that they like, partridge foot, which is a fairly small alpine flower, crab apples, rusty manzizia, devil's club, stink currant, salmonberry, willow, red elderberry, blueberry, whatever different kind, lots of different kinds of blueberries. Angelica, western columbine, goat's beard. There is a good use for goat's beard apparently. They do look pretty too, but they make so much pollen. Paintbrush, fireweed, and nootka lupin. So that's what we could do is kind of preserve these kind of plants and kind of take care of the hummingbirds. And this guy's it's kind of blurry, but I got this last summer out at Ward Lake. I was standing on the bridge there at Grassy Point, and that was his territory. I was in it. He was a little ways away, but he was just like telling me off, and I was supposed to leave. So I got his picture, but he was also quivering so much that I couldn't get a clear picture. He was mad at me. So anyway, questions?
Do you think a hummingbird has ever effectively scared away a bear? Or do you think a bear's just like, keep going, keep going?
I don't know. I was surprised by it scaring away a squirrel.
Yeah.
So would a bear be able to stand? I probably would go with the bear.
Yeah.
Honestly, over the hummingbird, but I had to think about it for a second. Yeah.
Do they come back to where they were born to breed?
Oh, wow. Okay, Ben, I'm going to add, he shared, he got PowerPoint with me too that I modified, so thank you, Ben, and he's more bird than I am. Do you know?
I don't think we'd have the ability to really know. I don't know that it's
Okay.
been documented.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that they've had quite a few recaptures at the Alaska Hummingbird project, so they get quite a few recaptures. So that shows that they certainly come back to the same general area, but as far as like the same exact area where they were born, I don't know but they probably come close at least the same.
Because I was wondering, like, could there be genetic differences of if some are always breeding in Oregon and some are breeding in Alaska, right? Are they distinct populations genetically?
Probably not a huge difference. Now, there's a lot of debate over Allens versus Rufus. So Allens and Rufus almost look identical. So they think there's a fair bit of hybridization, and then there's some people debating whether or not Rufus and Allens are even different species. Depends on which geneticist you talk to. That would tell you.
Yeah.
How far do they travel each night or day?
Oh, the distance that they travel. Okay, I was prepared for the question, and people have asked me this before. Do they actually fly on their own, or do they catch rides on geese? And I don't know where that has come from, but more than one person has asked me that.
I would love to see that.
They don't catch rides on geese. They do fly on their own. But distance each night, each
Well, when
day.
they're traveling, they don't go.
I've heard 20 miles or so during the
That's,
migration.
yeah.
How do they feed during those 20 miles? They're not feeding.
Well, and one of the things is that when they get where they're going, they need to be feeding because they've kind of depleted themselves by getting there. And the southbound migration is actually, and I was actually just reading a paper that just come out that southerly migration is actually harder on birds than the northerly migration. But right, they need to be able to feed some, and that still it's hard on them because they're not feeding all the time. So, do you have something to add to that?
Well, I mean, a lot of your migrants, especially your small migrants like your hummingbirds and your warblers, will lose a good third or more of their body weight in migration. And then some of them have adaptations to migrate where they'll digest their parts of their organs and turn it into fat to consume. And then when they get to where they're going, then they'll regenerate stuff once they get to feeding again. So they have some crazy adaptations to survive the migrations. But I don't know that there's a lot of, the hard thing with hummingbirds is it's not like, I mean, even with warblers and stuff, but they use geolocator tags, things like little backpacks that they can put on, or some of it's even bands now that have like Modus tags that just have a tag that's even lighter weight. to document when birds migrate. And, they can be picked up at MODA stations along the route that shows those timings. But I don't know that there's much about rufous hummingbirds.
And I don't know that they actually, they're just okay, start to fly, just go for it the whole way too. Is that they take it in stages. The ones that were documented in British Columbia have not moved in a while. You've heard telling me. I think that they recharge along the way, take breaks to feed.
The more impressive one is the ruby-throated hummingbird that crosses the Gulf of Mexico, and then the other impressive one would be black-poll warblers that will fly along the entire Atlantic seaboard in nights. And they're tiny. They're just flying the bars.
Really? How do they track?
More questions, Hillary.
So, I remember noticing, wow, there's hummingbirds here all winter.
Yeah.
And people were talking about, you shouldn't leave, because we're leaving our feeders up all winter, that it's disrupting that's not true.
They will leave feeders. That's again that comes from the presentation done by I think his name is Mike. Anyway, that does the Alaska Hummingbird Project, and he's doing research on them in South Central, and they do leave. He says I've been watching them, and I'm worried about them at my feeders when the temperature's dropping. And they will not stay if they need to go to someplace that's better. And so they take advantage of them, and they have spread because of the flowers people have planted and the feeders that they've hung out. But if they, it will not entice them to stay in an area that's not going to be good for them. So they will head south if they need to.
Rufus?
All rufous leave for the winter time. They're only here in the summer. Anners all year round.
Is there a recommendation for how, we usually change ours once a week, is there a different recommendation?
You don't ever want it to get foggy, and especially if you see any kind of black mold anywhere on it, the feeder, you need to do a deep clean on it. Some people have so many hummingbirds that they're replacing their food every day, every couple days, every 3 days. When it's warm, I do mine every 2 or 3 days, but especially in the wintertime, it's in the refrigerator outside, so then I don't need to do it as often.
Yeah.
So I just kind of monitor it, and every week or so is probably good. If it gets really warm in the summertime, you might want to change it more often than that. And generally, a 4-to-1 ratio of sugar to water is the thing to do with 4 parts water to 1 part sugar. Some people reckon you mix it a little stronger than that because they need more sugar, but 4-to-1 is the recommended ratio.
That's what I was going to ask.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you know their range of sight or smell?
Oh, can they smell?
Roughly.
Well, they use UV light to help find their flowers, the pattern of the UV light, and so I have no idea what that's the smell.
It's like when you're putting your bird feeder out and they come all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Are they just staking out somewhere?
They are staking out close
Okay.
by. Yeah. And they see me coming out with it,
Okay.
and they're just there. It's red, part of it's red, and so it's they know that that's where the sugar water comes from. And they see it. Yeah. Kathy.
For any of us that are on a municipal water system, you just go to your tap and use that water. Do you need these Brita filter? Do you use my cistern water?
I use cistern water without doing anything to it except boiling it. You want to boil it. The best way, the recommended way to make it was to use filtered water, bring it to a boil, and once it's to a boil, you don't need to cook the sugar part of it. In fact, you shouldn't boil the sugar part of it for a long time because that can kind of make syrup. It doesn't need syrup. But bring your water to a boil, add the sugar, and then just return it to a boil, and then that's done. But filtered water or cistern water, boil it to kill anything that might be in
What do you use to do a deep clean on your feeders? Because I've heard various things.
Yeah.
I hate using Clorox.
Can you repeat the question?
Okay, so how to deep clean your hummingbird feeders? And heavy, harsh chemicals is not normal use. A good rinse with hot water is good. If you're deep cleaning, then you can use vinegar water and then rinse it really well. And you want to have use some kind of a scrub brush so that you're scrubbing out all the parts, and that can help dislodge any kind of nasty things that you don't want your hummingbirds to catch. Yeah. More questions? Thank you for coming and listening to me chat about hummingbirds. And head down to hummingbird feeders. It's you're not keeping them here by feeding them. They're super fun to watch.
Can this be accessed online?
So this has been live streamed on the Ketchikan campus Facebook page, and then that will be